This is Learning from My Mistakes, a video segment where I look at the things that I missed, misunderstood, or straight up in my previous video. I know, I said that you wouldn't be stuck looking at this mug for most of these 52 videos, and that is still true, I promise. But I had a thought for something I want to try since the last video went up, so this is what you're stuck with today. I say I had a thought, but actually this idea came from my brother. Now, I don't normally take advice as a rule from my family because I'm the smart one. You know the way like every family has the smart one and the not so smart one, and everyone can tell which one's which, except for the not so smart one because, well, they're not so smart. That's my brother. Honestly, I was surprised he even had a suggestion. I didn't really think that my videos would be like the kind of thing that him or his coworkers would like really appreciate. They're not exactly intellectuals, you know. I'm not a classist. Like, I don't have anything against doctors. I've got friends who are doctors, but it's just like Anyway, so somebody must have shown him how to use a phone because he watched my video and he sent me a message. So he was like, hey, I watched your video. It was amazing, obviously. And I saw at the end that you put this little bit that was like, oh, there was a problem with the audio. Like, I didn't notice anything personally. Like, of course it didn't. It wasn't even an issue. Like, it was nothing. But I thought about it and it gave me an idea. And here I am. Like, oh, he's got an idea. Here we go. So what if you use the experience to talk about like what went wrong, and maybe people like me could see that like even you aren't perfect. I wasn't wild about the wording, obviously, but there was something there, you know. He was onto something. This was a chance for me to like teach people and at the same time show them how humble I am. Now that is video gold. So there's the timeline for this project. I use DaVinci Resolve for all my editing, but everything I talk about here will apply to any mainstream editing program. We're just going to ignore my disastrous timeline management and jump right into what I want to talk about today: audio. If you're coming from a photography perspective like me, audio is hands down the most treacherous part of video making. It's really easy for it to be an afterthought in your production, but the difference between clean, well-captured audio and clipped, distorted audio will make or break your shot. I knew from the get-go that audio was a consideration I'd need to make for this sequence of intros that I was putting together. I wanted each one to feel distinct, and on top of composition, lighting, and set design, differences in audio would help me with that. Amazingly, that intro section actually went off pretty much without a hitch. For the walking vlogging shot, I was on a pretty windy cliff, but the dead cat on my mic did a great job of isolating my voice, so no problems there. For the Twitch streamer shot, I took the mic off camera to get it nice and close to my face, both for the visual but also for that distinctive radio voice-esque quality it gives. For these two shots, I kept the mic on camera again because I was very close to it anyway, and it kind of lends that casual addressing the camera feel to the recording. For this shot, even though I was much further away from the camera, I specifically left the mic on camera so that you would get a less polished sound with a little more echo from the room. For the last two, I simply recorded the audio separately, with my head under a thick towel for a clean voiceover. This one could have been improved. You can hear something slightly weird happening here with the peaks. Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome to this, I was on a time crunch, so I cut corners. Basically, I just had my mic plugged directly into my laptop. This is a really quick and dirty method, as my MacBook is handling the preamp stage. That's where the audio signal is boosted up to usable volume, and it is automatically adjusting the levels based on what it thinks is best, but it's not always right. The easy solution to this would be to use a little handy-dandy recorder I have with manual controls, and then import those files directly to my computer. Boom, problem solved. For reference, this is my audio equipment, this little €50 mic. And this is what I'm referring to when I talk about a dead cat. This is just used to dissipate wind before it hits the mic so that it stops that horrible noise that we're all familiar with. Here is that handy dandy recorder that I could have used, but didn't. And here is what we're going to talk about next. Now that the intro sequences were out of the way, all that was left was the final piece, where I addressed the camera as myself. I took the mic off camera, but instead of putting it right to my mouth, like I had with the Twitch streamer shot, I had it out of frame down here, with the cable then running the audio to the camera to sync up with the video. This way my voice would still be clean and clear without any noise from the lens autofocusing or too much echo from the room being picked up, but also sounding full and natural, not like somebody is talking right into your ear. Okay, so that's super simple, really hard to screw that up. And before rolling, I plug my headphones into my camera to do an audio test, and it sounds good. So I take off the headphones, I hit record, and I sit down to start talking. And this is what it sounds like. I'm Colin Judge, aka See Judge Shoot. Actually, that's the edited audio. This was the audio straight from the camera. I'm Colin Judge, aka See Judge Shoot. That horrible, ear-splitting, nauseating sound, that's interference, and that is the work of the devil. When a microphone captures audio, it's converting pressure changes in the air into an electrical signal. This signal is then sent via a cable to whatever device you are using to record the audio. On the way, the signal can be messed up by two types of interference, EMI and RFI. EMI is electromagnetic interference, and that's caused by being close to and parallel with any strong electrical currents, for example, a charger or a power cable. But that's not what's happening here. I know that because there was no interference when I was checking with my headphones. This interference was RFI, radio frequency interference. You see, a cable like this, stretched out, is basically an antenna, and it will pick up any strong radio frequency signals around. So it's a good thing there aren't any of those. The longer you run your audio cable, the more interference the signal will pick up on its journey. For those of us who are old enough to remember having those TVs or radios with the antenna sticking out the top, you might also remember that if you moved a piece of furniture or sometimes even just walked around the room, you could often increase the amount of static that was coming through in the reception. That's because physical objects are actually pretty good at blocking radio frequencies. When I was standing next to the cable, checking the audio on my headphones, I was blocking the radio signals. But when I moved into position for the shot, yeah. So how do you solve this problem? Shorter cables and better cable positioning will eliminate interference in most cases. But that's not always possible on set, so there are two other options. A shielded cable, which this is not, can help block that interference before it affects the audio signal. And a cable can also be balanced. This is what any professional audio tech will recommend, and they work in a way that is really clever. The audio signal is split into two, each identical but now half-strength signals. But before sending the signals down the cable, one of them is inverted. Now it is the exact opposite of its brother. We'll call this one the stupid doctor brother. En route, both audio signals will be exposed to the exact same RFI and EMI, and then at the end of the cable, the stupid doctor brother signal is flipped back again, and the two are combined. Here is why it's so clever. When that second inversion is performed, the original audio signals sync back up and return to full strength, but now the interference is mirrored. And when you combine two audio waves that are mirror images, you get silence. This is the exact same principle behind noise-cancelling headphones. It's like freaking magic, only it's not magic, it's physics, but that's like way more practical, so that's good. Okay, so that's how the problem could have been avoided. But what can you do if you find yourself stuck with terrible interference and you're too pressed for time to do a reshoot? You will never be able to turn it into great audio, but you just might be able to upgrade it to usable audio. Let's take a quick little dip into the terrifying world of EQ. Audio processing is intimidating as all hell. Look at this. There is just so much dials and knobs and switches, good grief. But like, there's really no need to be scared if you just remember this little gem of wisdom. Anything you do here can be undone. So feel free to play around. If what you changed makes things worse instead of better, you can just reset everything. No harm done. Also, some of these things are just plain fun to mess around with and can give you crazy cool results. Clearly, I am not an audio wizard, so I'm not the person that you should be learning how to do this from. Audio engineering is an entire discipline for a reason. But what you can take away from what I'm about to show you is the attitude you can take to problem solving in audio processing. Just jump in and give it a try. Detailed and easy to understand guides on how best to use each and every one of these tools can be found in any of the hundreds and hundreds of tutorials that are already out there. And like, you don't need to use all these tools. There's like 3. If you learn how to use 3 of these, you're well on your way to solving like 90% of any problem you come across. Now, the eagle-eyed amongst you might have noticed that one of these tools is specifically called noise reduction. Why couldn't I have just used that? Well, I tried, But it doesn't always work perfectly, particularly when the noise in your audio is fluctuating throughout the recording. For example, here are the results of using it on this clip. I'm Colin Judge, aka C Judge Shoot, and welcome. What I did instead was try to find the frequencies where the noise was like the most obnoxious, the most painful to listen to, and dip the volume down just on those specific frequencies. The balancing act comes where you want to remove the undesirable sounds without overly distorting the sounds that you actually want to keep, and in this case it's my voice. You definitely can go too far, but by playing around, you can find something that helps. What you heard in the video that I'd uploaded was as good as I could get it before I was just like, oh God, I'm gonna have to live with it. I just need to ship it. The deadline's here, I gotta put it out. The next day though, after some sleep, I came back and I messed around with it a bit more. I actually applied a noise reduction plugin after doing the primary EQ, and it worked pretty well at cleaning up the worst of the interference that still remained. So that's really good to know. But it brings me to the last lesson of the day. There is no way to edit an uploaded YouTube video. If you post it with a mistake, you cannot change it later. So part of this project will be me learning to live with what I have posted in order to meet the Sunday deadline. The only silver lining is that it resulted in like the idea for this video. If I can't fix the problems with my videos that I upload, at least I can use them as an opportunity to pass on my experience to others instead of pretending like I never made the mistake in the first place. It wasn't that fun, huh? Learning stuff. Yeah, I'm thinking of making this like a regular video thing, but like separate to the main uploads that are done every Sunday. So maybe I'll put this up like Wednesdays, Thursdays. I'd say it's pretty safe to guess that I'm going to run into some unforeseen problems when I'm making these videos. So this could be a good chance for me to share what I learned from those experiences. Let me know if that's something you'd like to see more of. Which would mean I'd make a video talking about what I learned making this video talking about what I learned. Also, if there's anything that you notice when you're watching one of my videos that makes you say like, how did he do that? Or why did he do that? Or why didn't he just do this? Drop it in the comments and maybe I'll make a video about it next time that I'm doing one of these. What I learned from doing mistakes, what I made mistakes, what I learned. All right, that's it for today. Yeah, I think that went pretty well. See you next week, guys. It's flawless.